So, on a scale from 1 to going to a college bar alone on a Friday night, what's the most you've ever tried to make friends? The first thing I did after going to a bar alone was reaching out to my network of connections. Wait. Actually, I started out by going online and Googling how do you make friends in a new city. The advice that I got back was interesting. So instead, what I did was I reached out to some of my friends that I knew had ties to Pittsburgh, and I was asking them, you know, do you know anybody here? Do you have any recommendations for places to see? Eventually, I found a mutual friend. So, Kat's friend Kirsten and I, we set up a dinner. She mentioned that one of the biggest things or events that go on in Pittsburgh is Kenny Chesney. It's known as Chesney Day here. For those who don't know, Kenny Chesney is a country artist, and every year when he comes here, people go all out. I mean, Heinz Field turns into what I presume looks like one of their game days. It's people. There's people everywhere. They're grilling and blasting country music, and there's a bunch of pickup trucks and all kinds of nonsense associated with that. I didn't think that this would be something that I would be interested in, but she encouraged me to come to the tailgate and maybe not buy a ticket, but still just see what it's all about, meet some of her friends, and really just get a taste for what Pittsburgh is like. So reluctantly I accepted, and I went to this Kenny Chesney tailgate by myself. I literally showed up there alone. I first met up with one of my coworkers that I at that point had known for a week to hang out with him and his friends and family at their tailgate. Then after that, I walked over to meet up with Kirsten, and I met some of her friends, and it was really quite an interesting experience. Definitely not something that I've ever seen before. It's a very different atmosphere. People are very excited, but not about something that I know much about, so that was cool. So that's something that I would recommend. If you're new to a city and you don't know anybody, try to reach out to people that you know and see if maybe somehow in your network of connections you can find someone that lives here who will be willing and kind enough to take you out to dinner or whatever, and tell you a little bit more about their city. Another thing that I tried to do in order to make friends in a new city was get on Tinder and see if I can make any connections that way. And unfortunately, that was not my most successful method, but that's okay, because just because it didn't work for me doesn't mean it won't work for you. If you think that that's something that you should try, then by all means, do it. But if it doesn't work, then don't despair. There's certainly other ways, in my opinion, better ways to make friends when you move to a new city. So keep that in mind too. One of the other things that I personally did myself was I know that a lot of coffee places are located in various interesting places, so I did my best to find a coffee shop to go and sit down and work on these videos at, or just observe the general community and the general area that I was in. And that was really cool in my opinion, because you always find something new. And the one time I went to a coffee shop on a Friday, I ended up walking into this glass blowing gallery. I met this awesome lady. Her name was Susan. She was working on a piece that was just stunning, and to me, glass blowing has always been one of those things that I would never really see myself getting into, but definitely something that I've admired for a while. I walked around their gallery, saw some incredible pieces, and what I admired the most about it is that if you just change your perspective a little bit and look maybe not from the outside but start from the inside, you see it in a completely new light. And I think it's like that with a lot of things. You just have to be willing to change perspectives, be willing to adjust your viewpoint, because you never know what you'll find. And I think that when you're moving to a new place, one of the things that I personally picked up on the fastest is exactly how much I have to be willing to adapt like this. Since I've moved, I've become a lot more grateful and receptive of interactions with other people. And I think that in large part that's because when you're new in a place and you don't know anybody, you kind of are forced to be like that because you don't really know who might end up being your friend or who would be willing to be your friend rather. So you treat every stranger as kindly as you can, and it's really awesome because there's just a whole lot of things that you can discover by just talking to people that you maybe wouldn't have talked to before or you don't see yourself talking to that often. Just try new things. Don't be afraid to live outside of your comfort zone, live outside of your shell. Because eventually once this city and once any city stops being new, you will find a new comfort zone, you will find a new shell, and it's harder to break out of that once you're already in it than it is when you're forced to be outside of it. Explore that, live in it, rejoice in the fact that right now you have no other obligations to yourself except for trying out new things, living as much as you can outside of that comfort zone, and adapting and meeting new people and becoming a new person and a better person, or whatever happens, you know. You owe it to yourself to do your absolute best and to, I don't know, take on as much and learn as much from the new place that you're surrounded by.